We got leaked screenshots for a God of War cancelled multiplayer game. And I also want to look at the other like Sony projects, like another one that got cancelled recently, and their live service like push. Because yes, things are not going well. And will they be able to turn it around? I'm still not very optimistic about everything. But I do think it is good that they probably cancelled this God of War multiplayer game. So we go to multiplayer first. They got screenshots. And the first noticeable detail that we can get by looking at the gallery is that the game was clearly planned to return to the Greek setting. So let's go through these. What it really shows to me is that it really looks like those co-op levels, right? With a linear path, you got some pots to break, and yeah, we would probably be fighting some enemies here, and then you moved on to the next area, and yeah, that was seemingly the thing we would be doing. And look, I really thought when they had this sort of like a lot of the game, a lot of like Ragnarok was really about working together with other people. God of War 2018, Kratos, Atreus. And a really cool twist, because again, when you were just looking at the marketing material pre-launch for God of War Ragnarok, you thought, okay, it's gonna be Kratos and Atreus again. But then very quickly you get other companions. Of course, Freya joins. You play Atreus, you get other companions. I love that. And when I was playing as Atreus or Kratos with another character, I was constantly being like, this could work as a multiplayer game. Let me quickly show you what I mean, for if you forgot. So in this video, from December 2022, I already said, yo, I think we're gonna get a co-op multiplayer game from God of War. I really thought, okay, they're gonna do it. This is what I mean. You play Atreus, you got another person playing Truth or whoever, and you're just blasting through these enemies. Bam. I really think that this is what the co-op multiplayer God of War would be. And yeah, I mean, the gameplay is so well done in God of War that it might actually be pretty awesome. But the problem with these types of games is, and also another like big wrinkle to this thing is, of course, that it was Bluepoint making it. But like they have to make sure that repeating these runs and doing the same, like basically the same level over and over for better loot has to be interesting. And I don't think they were able to figure that out. Another interesting detail for those familiar with the lore is the apparent inclusion of the god Hades, at least in name. We were told that Hades would have been the owner of the armory, as well as the yellow silver pools visible in the caverns. So if the game was meant to fit in the established canon at all, the involvement of a living Hades suggests a timeline prior to the events of God of War 3. But yeah, that is probably what would happen, right? Okay, Hades is here. You can upgrade your gear at Hades and get the currency from the run and then upgrade your X or whatever. That's probably what it would be, right? It would be in a hub area or something, you would think. Because here they talk a bit more about it. Returning to Hades' armory, we notice that one picture shows the place looking different, as a red corrosion seems to have taken over the area. The state is described as cursed on the armory, suggesting that it could have inflicted a negative status on the players inside. So basically, cursed state, normal state. They're like, whoop. But that's, of course, like, you have to make these levels replayable. So, oh, now this level is in the cursed state. I don't know. Like, and that's the thing. We also learned this. I think this is still very interesting. So, of course, we had the Insomniac leak. And we saw this image. So here you see Bluepoint. Bluepoint is, of course, the makers of the Demon's Souls remake. And they did the Shadow of Colossus remake as well. They have 80 employees. It's still wild to me that they were like, yo, go make a God of War live service game that people will spend their time in for years and years. Like, that's, of course, when you start a live service game, that's what you want. You want the game that people can play for a long time. 80 employees, I don't think that's enough to keep the content for a PvE game going. So, yeah, that was never a good idea. And, of course, we could have had, like, a really cool new remake by this point. But Demon's Souls came out end of 2020. It's, like, 5 years later. and they were working on a God of War co-op game. It's gonna be a really long time before we see what they do next. We have an idea of what they will do next. I will touch on that in a second. But so we have this. This was from the Insomniac hack, and you see the image they had in the background, and that was this. And I think that's very interesting. Like, we were already like, what the heck is this? We thought, okay, they're doing their own single-player game, their own single-player story-driven RPG, a new IP. But this was potentially for the God of War game. It's so interesting. It's so weird. But yeah, that's one of the wrinkles to it. Now, what we know about what they're doing next, they're right now looking for a senior combat designer. And that person has to have solid understanding of combat systems and mechanics for a third-person melee action experience. So they're seemingly still working on more Demon's Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, a God of War co-op game. It's all third-person melee action, but like, you would think that they're gonna go back to a remake now. Let's not try another multiplayer game, please. Like, what if they use the assets from this co-op game and go make a God of War 1 remake? That would be sick. Make it with the new combat. I know not everyone would be down for that, but I do also think that a remastered trilogy, it just is not what God of War is anymore. If you basically just upped the fidelity of those games. I do think that if you want to tell those stories again, you would do it through a remake that also has the combat from 2018 and onwards. But maybe third-person melee, it could be like Bloodborne, you know? No, probably not. So what we also learned is, basically, when that Bluepoint game got cancelled, it was not the only PlayStation project that got cancelled. Also Sony banned. So basically, they're highly valued, accomplished teams who are valued members of the PlayStation Studio family, and we're working closely with each studio to determine what are the next projects. So basically, the two games were cancelled following a recent review that PlayStation will continue making both, online and single-player games. So yeah, Sony banned After Days Gone was, of course, doing also a multiplayer game with the Days Gone elements, but that also never saw the light of day. And this was like after the Concord situation, where Sony was like, whoa, okay, we have to go back to the drawing board. Is what we're doing currently for the live service initiative working? And then they looked at those two games and were like, yo, Bluepoint, it's not gonna work. Yo, Sony Band, it's not gonna work. Although, seems like there's more going on in regards to Sony Band, and that makes me kind of worried. So we have Robert Morrison here on Twitter. To be fair, we did not make enough substantial progress over the 3 years I was there. I saw the eventual cancellation coming prior to it, and this in regards to the Bend Studio IP. So basically, he was saying, sure, Concord, not great. Sony, was looking at their live service initiative and the games they had in development, but it seemed that even if Concord was a huge success, maybe the Sony Bend game would have been cancelled anyways, because if you work on it for 3 years with not much to show for it, that's obviously not a good look. But the problem is that, like, is that a Bend problem, or is that just a single-player game studio making live service game problem? Because we've just seen many of those. Suicide Squad, Anthem. The list goes on with all these single-player teams trying this like live service game and failing big time. That it was maybe never a good idea to have Sony Bend involved. So yeah, this was Sony's plan, of course, to launch over 10 live service games by 2026. Was their financial year 2026 though, so would have been by March 2026. I mean, we're a few months away from that, and they only launched Helldivers 2 and Concord. And they cancelled a lot of other stuff, like the Last of Us game, of course. So these two games I just already mentioned, like, it's crazy. They had a Twisted Metal live service game. What they have right now, though, it's crazy that this is the best. This is their best bet, a Marathon, a game that was revealed with little like hype. People were hyped because it's Bungie doing a new IP, but not because the actual game they were working on. Now, to be fair, this is like from the reveal. It's still wild to me, by the way, that this was this year. It feels like it was such a long time ago, but it was like May, I think, right? Or April 2025. To be fair, they've been doing like close tests. They've been really testing the game a lot with actual players and not just internal like QA guys. And yeah, positive results. But we will have to wait and see if it's actually gonna work out for them. They really have to. The next time they show it, it really has to be a home run. And there's so much riding on this. Not only for Sony's live service initiative, where can they make another success next to Helldivers 2? I would argue Helldivers 2 was kind of Arrowhead. Like, Sony did not push Helldivers 2 at all. If they really thought they had like the big, like the golden goose in hands that the game turned out to be, I do think they would have been shouting that from the rooftop. So that's already a red flag too. And then they did do that for Concord, where they had the cinematic trailer. They had the Amazon show with a Concord episode. Like, they thought Concord was going to be big. Didn't turn out to be great. They did not think much of Helldivers 2, and that turned out to be great. We will see, though. But Marathon, like, it's going to be very important. I will not be playing the game, but I will be watching it very closely because I think it could make or break Bungie. And it's, of course, we hear that all the time. It's always fun to say those types of things, but it feels like that's actually the case now. With Destiny 2 being not as great. Like not doing well either. Like it's the lowest player numbers ever, and not really something that is gonna turn that around. Yeah, we're looking now at Fire Games. That's another one where it's like, just get it over with. Just drop it. Just don't do it. I would love to be in the timeline where that game comes out and surprises everyone. But yeah, if we already had our question marks, and then we also have PS5 live service game Fair Games loses another key developer. We're constantly hearing about game directors and other higher-ups leaving Haven Studios, the company that was founded and bought by Sony to make this game. That's not good. And then, the other one. Close to my heart. We are continuing to create epic solo adventures for Aloy, but there's more. A new internal team is developing a separate online project set in the Horizon universe. If you know me, you know that I'm a huge Horizon fan, and I would love to be in a world where we have a Horizon game that constantly gets updates, where I can call my friends and be like, wanna kill the Thunderjaw today? It's the Red Maw. It has like one rocket launcher, but it has like corrupted elements. It's gonna be a raid challenging boss. Bring your best potions and your upgrades and your best gear, and let's rock it. I would love that. But yeah. When is this coming out? I mean, they're taking their time at least. They're taking their time. This has been in development. I'm always showing this guy. He must be, every few months he gets like a message that I'm stalking him on LinkedIn. But hey, that's all we got. That's all we got. 7 years, 10 months. We're reaching almost the 8 years, everyone. Online game director on the Horizon Online project. It already has been in development for a longer time than Horizon Zero Dawn, when Guerrilla Games was going from Killzone, a first-person shooter, to an open-world RPG. But I also think, and that's what we're kind of seeing with all these companies like Bluepoint, yeah, they've been working on God of War and a multiplayer game, and that means that they will probably, next to Demon's Souls, not launch anything on the PS5 console. I would hope their next game still launch on PS5, but it's possible that it's not happening. Days Gone developers, like they launched Days Gone in 2019. They might go 10 years without releasing a game. Sony banned. But on the other hand, if they had worked on that game for 3 years and nothing to show for it, it might also be that Sony banned is just done, sadly. And yeah, then we have Guerrilla Games. Like, they're putting so many eggs in this basket in this Horizon Online project. We have like single-player developers that we know thanks to their LinkedIn and their Twitters working on this online project, and that means they're not working on the next single player game. So that hurts me. So this online game has to be amazing. Otherwise, we're basically like they're delaying the inevitable third game for their attempt at a live service thing. It's not good. It's not good, but yeah, it was probably for the best that the God of War game got cancelled and the Sony banned game as well. But no, I'm not convinced that Sony is gonna crack the live service code anytime soon. But let me know what you think. At least we got some big single-player games. We know Saros is coming next year. We know Wolverine is coming the year after. Then probably in 2027, Intergalactic. Probably some launch games for the PlayStation 6. A Venom game. So these, like, Insomniacs, the Naughty Dogs, they're carrying. They're gonna carry. So that's at least good to see. But yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.